I've been an environmentalist for about 7 or 8 years, and I only just now attended my first protest. So yes, you can be an environmentalist, you can be an activist without attending protests. But I wanted to walk you through what I did right, what I did wrong, so that way you can learn from me and hopefully get out there yourselves. Hello everyone, it's Emma and welcome back to my channel where I talk about all sorts of things, zero waste, focusing on free, easy, and fun ways to live low waste. If I talk a little bit too fast for you, there's a gear icon right down here. Please use it. I cannot change the speed of my voice. I have tried. Let's go ahead and get into it. So not only was this my first protest ever, I also organized it, which is just crazy to think about. I just really dove headfirst into the whole protesting thing. Here's what happened. In response to thousands of park rangers being laid off from all different organizations within the Department of the Interior and the USDA, the Forest Service, as well as massive budget cuts that are happening to public lands, shrinking of public lands, closing of offices and headquarters and visitor centers within our public lands, the opening of logging and drilling, you get the idea. There's a lot of bad stuff happening with our public lands that you can learn more about in this video. So in response to that, a group of rangers teamed up together to create Resistance Rangers on Instagram, and they hosted a nationwide protest on Saturday, March 1st. And I kept refreshing it, and I did not see one happening for Redwood. With it being such a major park and such a major part of our community here, I knew that we needed to have a protest here, and I wasn't sure if anybody else was going to, take the initiative and do it, so I just said, you know what? I'm gonna do it. I'm going to rip the bandage off and just send it and see what happens. So I was in contact with Resistance Rangers first off, because they were like the main organizers for the nationwide event, and I said, hey, here's my name, here's my contact information in case anybody needs to get a hold of me. Here's where I'm doing my protest, and here's a time. And then the rest was up to me. They had a great Google Sheet full of information on how to host a protest in a national park, because it is a little bit specific. You do have the right to protest on our public lands, but you do have to be specific about it. One of them being you have to stay to designated First Amendment area regions if you want to stay out of trouble. So with this being my first protest period and my first time organizing, I wanted to cause as little stir as possible, so I followed all of the rules. And then from there, I pretty much had all my details. I had the time, I had the location, I had the date. So then I started making information for social media. I put it on Instagram, I put it on Facebook, I put it on TikTok, and it somehow ended up on Humboldt Reddit, which is like the big place where people get their news here apparently. I didn't even know that it existed. I didn't even put it there. And also just spreading it by word of mouth as well. So this was like Thursday night, right? This was less than 24 hours before the protest, and I had only just heard about it from Resistance Rangers that day, and I think they were maybe posting about it on Wednesday. So it was very, very short notice for everyone involved, but particularly for those of us who were doing the organizing on the park level, even more short notice. So moving forward, if I were to host another protest, I would definitely do a little bit more time in advance just to make sure that it's as organized as possible. From there, I started reaching out to my friends. I have some friends at Voyagers who are doing protests, some friends up in Montana doing protests, some friends in Central California doing protests, and was like, hey, what are you guys doing? I have no idea what to do. So I sat down and I cut up some old cardboard boxes to make some signs for myself, also some signs to share for those people who don't want to make signs themselves. And then I also brought extra cardboard, I brought extra markers, I brought scissors, and stuff like that for people to make their own signs once we arrived. Other ideas I got from my friends were to bring snacks, bring drinks, and bring a trash bag, which was really great ideas. We not only left no trace, but we also picked up trash that we saw. And the snacks and drinks ended up being a great idea at the end of the protest when everybody was hungry after standing out there and running around for 2 hours or so. And oh my gosh, everybody was so sweet. I got asked by like 5 people if I needed donations to cover the food and the drinks, and I didn't even ask. I just bought it out of my own pocket. Thankfully, I was in a position to be able to do that, but the community being like, hey, we will help you cover these snacks was just so meaningful. Something that I learned there was if I had more time to plan the protest, I would kind of facilitate for some funds. Maybe be like, hey, if anybody's able to contribute $5 or $10 to a snack fund, I can then buy more and better snacks because I just bought the cheapest stuff. It wasn't really great high quality snacks, so that would have been beneficial. Some other things I wish I would have brought was maybe some gloves for people to pick up trash with, just to keep everything sanitary, and also some hand sanitizer, and also some masks for those people who want to prevent the spread of disease, and also for people who want to hide their identity, because you never know what could happen at a protest. And if a news crew shows up or if anything happens like that and you don't want to be seen. Now I think the one thing that I actually did like very, very well was staying humble. It could be very easily for me to have gone and be like, you know what, I'm in charge, I'm making all the calls, I'm doing everything. But off the bat, I knew that I was not in a position to properly organize and host a protest because I've never even been to a protest. So I made that very, very clear to those who attended. I gathered everybody up at our starting time to make some announcements. One of them being, hey guys, not only is this my first time organizing, but this is my first protest ever. So yeah, technically I'm in charge, meaning that if we get approached by rangers, I have the permit. If we get approached by the public, I can be the spokesperson, things of that nature. But if I'm doing something that might not be the smartest idea, it might not be the safest idea, please voice your concerns. Anybody has any better ideas to make ourselves, more known, more visible to the crowds, more visible to the public, please make that known. And people were really, really receptive. People were very, very kind, even though I didn't know what I was doing. And then the other thing that I think went really well too was just supporting one another and just being kind to one another. I thanked every single person who showed up. I said goodbye to everybody as they were walking away. And also in return, I got so many thank yous for hosting. I did a whole lot of networking, which was really, really great as well. If you're weary of protesting, and I get that because your safety could be on the line depending on the severity of the protest, this one was very, very low key. We're outside of a national park. Who hates national parks, right? So if you're interested in going to a protest, I would find something like that. Something very, very low key and just go. It's very, very intimidating. If you think too much about it, you'll find some excuses and you'll not go. I have done that for years. To be fair, I was not allowed to protest when I was in the military, so I've only been in the realm of being able to protest for about a year and a half. And then I lived in the middle of Minnesota in the Northwoods for 6 of those months. So where am I gonna protest? To the bears? Even being here though, there have been some protests since I moved here and I have made excuses and not gone. I'm kind of glad I got thrown into the deep end because now I'm more comfortable with protesting. I understand what it entails. I understand what it's gonna be like and feel like and look like and do. If you're thinking about protesting, but you keep making excuses, just go. Even if you don't have any supplies, even if you have nothing, even if you have no knowledge on the topic, but you're passionate about it, just go. People were so kind at spreading information, at being supportive of one another, being welcoming and kind. And also, it's such a great opportunity to make friends and network, especially if you are in the, you want to be an organizer, you want to be a facilitator. Go and rub elbows with people, make friends, make connections. I met so many people. I'm now involved with some political action on campus because I met somebody who does that. I met another person who's very, very into organizing, so we're going to get together and see what else we can do in our community. And this is precisely what I have wanted for years. I have wanted to be more involved in person with activism, build in-person community. It's been hard because we move a lot until now, but it's so cool to see this all fall into my lap all at once. One other thing that I did well was I collected emails, and I did this on a whim. I was literally driving in the car and I'm like, oh, I should collect contact information because what if we do another protest? It'll be so much easier to email these 50 people instead of trying to remember oh, who DM'd me on Instagram, who commented on my Facebook post. It's so much easier now that I have an email list, and it kind of inspired me to do a regular activism newsletter for the local community. I already do some activism in my newsletter for you guys. You can join it down below, but it's so much cooler now to be hey, here's a local resource for voting. Hey, here's a local resource for if you're unhoused and things of that nature because yeah, I can share those in my regular newsletter, but not a lot of people, if any, even live in my local area, so it would kind of be a little bit pointless. So I'm excited to have this new local newsletter as well to hopefully get involved more with activism and politics and again, just build community. Now, I think the biggest learning opportunity that came to us was we did have one counter protester. I expected none because again, who hates national parks? Who hates public lands? Apparently, some people do. So we were just about to wrap up. We were getting towards the end and somebody goes, oh, here comes that orange truck again. And I'm like, what do you mean again? What is this orange truck? I had not seen it before because I was kind of running around, thanking people, taking videos, taking photos. And they're like, yes, this car's been by 4 or 5 times. They slowed down, they got into the same shoulder of the road that we were standing on. And we were all like, oh my gosh, he's gonna run out of the road. So we stepped back into the ditch because yeah, you could drive in the ditch, but this truck was so tiny and the ditch was really steep. So we stood there. They ended up not trying to run us off the road. Thank goodness. They were semi-peaceful. They pulled into the parking lot and I was like, what do I do here? I have no idea what to do. That was when I was like, oh, I probably should have had a true plan for counter protesters because yeah, the likelihood of having a counter protester for a protest like this is so low, but it's not zero. But thankfully there was somebody who was there who is a bit more experienced with protests and politics and was like, hey, we should walk up to him as a welcoming community. So me and this person went and then I think 4 or 5 other people joined us and that ended up being really, really good idea. So if you're an organizer, you're attending a protest even, make sure that you have some sort of welcoming committee for those counter protesters. And let me tell you precisely why this worked. So he gets out of the car, he's screaming, he's yelling, he's obviously on edge. So like I said, there was a ditch. So he parked up here and we're standing up here. So we're yelling across this really deep ditch to each other and it's just not working. There's people yelling over here, there's people yelling over here. People on our side are obviously on edge too because we think we're under threat now. So people aren't necessarily inclined to be nice to this guy, which is putting him more on edge. And it was just not good. So once we approached him as a welcoming committee, we met at the bottom of this ditch, which also made me feel better that like the other 80 people were up on this ridge just in case something happened. And we talked to him calmly in a low voice. We did not yell at him. We did not berate him or anything like that. And honestly, we just let him ramble because he just sounded like he needed somebody to hear his complaints, and that's totally valid. Ultimately, he ended up being upset that he doesn't have anybody to rally behind his cause. Also, we kind of agree on some stuff more than we thought we would. So like, I definitely get where he was coming from. He wants his voice heard. He feels like it's not getting heard. He wants a community. He doesn't have that. And at the end of the day, we all kind of agreed that we love conservation. We love clean air. We love clean water. We love these trees. We love the animal. We love the wildlife. But is the National Park Service the answer to that? Maybe, maybe not. But is firing low-level park rangers also the answer? Definitely not. So that's why we kind of explained that to him. Like, hey, we know that the National Park Service is so imperfect. It's got a long way to go, but defunding it, shrinking public lands, taking away office space, firing low-level rangers is not helping at all, and in fact, it's going to harm it more. So hopefully he heard our side of the story. We definitely heard his, and ultimately, what calmed him down the most was just validating him, letting him ramble, letting him rant, and being like, yeah, we hear you, we understand you, we get your side of the story. You know, thanks for letting us know. We gave him also some advice, like, hey, if you want to let people hear your voice, go attend a town hall down in town. If you want people to hear your voice, call your representatives. If you want someone to hear your voice, go talk to the superintendent of the park, right? Like, we gave him these options. We gave him some websites to go visit and things like that. So hopefully that helped. At the end of the day, he left peacefully. Nobody was harmed. My adrenaline spiked so high. I got into the car and I was like, okay, here comes the adrenaline crash. I was definitely nervous, but overall I learned a lot from this person that helped me with this situation. And also I learned that I should keep stuff on my person. I brought a lot of stuff to be prepared, but I left it in my truck. My water was there, my knife, my bear spray, even simple stuff like my sunglasses and my sunscreen. I left it in the truck. So it would be very, very helpful to have like a little crossbody bag, a little fanny pack, just with a few basic essentials on me, especially if something were to arise, like a dangerous situation. I don't carry anything that would like drastically harm somebody, but I know that bear spray is enough to deter people, and also enough that if I used it, I could get away quickly and safely. So that's why I kind of like carrying bear spray, not even for bears, I carry it for humans. But none of that was on me, so it would have been totally pointless. So that was my biggest takeaway for counter protesters, was have a plan for them and also like be prepared on my person just in case. Obviously, I don't want to use bear spray. I don't want to harm anybody, even if they're not going to be permanently injured. But I would rather bear spray somebody than lose my life, or maybe someone, you know, use something a little bit more dangerous behind me. And then similarly to that, I also wish I would have prepared better for other sorts of courses of action. Like, what happens if a storm rolled in, right? We were not prepared for weather at all. What were to happen if there was like a car accident or a human got into some sort of accident, like an encounter with a car, a vehicle, wildlife? I had no plan, none at all. We also live in an earthquake zone, a tsunami zone. I had no plan for that. So lots and lots of lessons learned, and perhaps I'll write something up because if I do organize any other protests, it will be locally, and the same courses of action will be applied, whether I do it in town, whether I do it up at Redwood, whether I do it down south a little bit. It'll all be very, very similar courses of action, so I should make a plan and just stick to it for any protest I organize. Just besides those lessons learned, here are a few things that I want to do moving forward to hopefully increase my activism and keep this momentum going. Because honestly, the vibes were so high. People were so inspired. I was inspired. I wanted to do more. People wanted to do more. So I really want to capitalize on that. So I immediately sent out a newsletter that night with action items like, hey, download the 5 Calls app. Here's how to volunteer with the national park. Anything along those lines on how people can stay active, stay involved, and also, hey, now you're part of this newsletter if I organize anything else. I think also moving forward, having a team would be so beneficial because I can't do it all, and I'm also not like a professional in everything. I made very clear to the few people who had interest in organizing with me, like, hey, my skills are definitely social media, emailing, newsletters, reaching out to brands, coordinating with local organizations. I already have lots of experience with that, doing social media work, so I might as well use that for our local activism here. And there are plenty of other people who are like, yeah, I'm really good at like getting people involved, recruiting people, or I'm really, really involved at facilitating meetings and organizing. So it's really, really cool to see everybody's different skills and how they can all come together. I also just learned that a lot reading the book Mutual Aid, and that let people utilize their skills. Don't tell someone, hey, you're the organizer when they don't have any organizational skills. Or don't say, hey, you're in charge of making posters if they don't want to or if they're not good at it. Let people show you their skills and use their skills to the best of everybody's advantage. Because if you let people use their skills, it's something that they're going to be good at, passionate about, excited about, and also probably have the best outcome for everyone. So I'm excited to keep networking with people, keep organizing. I'm meeting with a few people this week. I'm meeting with I have ideas. I'm excited to hear other people's ideas and just keep the ball going. I don't have any like precise details of what's to come, right? Like, are we organizing another protest? I hope so, but I don't really know. I am still involved with Resistance Rangers on Instagram, so follow me on Instagram, follow Resistance Rangers on Instagram. I think there's something brewing for a government shutdown protest, but still unsure 100%. But for now, that is my experience going to a protest, organizing a protest, things I learned, things I did right. I think I covered them all. I guess my final takeaways would be just go. Just show up, whether you have a sign, whether you have information on it or not. But 2, also be prepared in other ways. Bring proper weather gear, bring something to protect yourself, bring proper water and snacks and food and sunglasses, bring a mask if you want your identity to be concealed, and things of that nature. So be prepared, but also you don't have to have any information about the protest itself to go. Just go. Seriously, I feel so inspired to do so much more just by being there. 3, be kind to those who are attending with you. I mean, be kind to the visitors as well. Be kind to the counter protesters. And also, if the protest is supposed to be peaceful, please remain peaceful. Do not vandalize, do not do anything vulgar, and things of that nature. You get the idea. I'm gonna keep learning and I'm gonna keep sharing, so I hope that you like content like this. If you want to see this stuff in real time, please follow me on Instagram. Also TikTok. I'm definitely the best at posting on Instagram, the quickest. Literally, as soon as I got home, I threw up a reel, posted about all the signs we made, posted about everything else people can do locally. So real-time activism on Instagram, and then TikTok, and then here. It just takes so long to film and script and edit all of these videos on YouTube. I love YouTube, but it is very time-consuming. So I'll get the information out here for you as quickly as I can, but it's going to be probably about a week late or maybe even more. So just something to keep in mind. Anyway, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for supporting me as I continue to learn how to be an activist. I have really focused on activism online and activism at home over the last, 5 or 6 years, which is great. I'm not trying to discount that at all, but my personal goal was to always get involved locally, hands-on, and I'm so glad to finally do that and share with you how you can do it as well. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you watching this video. If you found any value in it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and if you have tips for protesting, for organizing, for anything of that nature, please leave them down below for the rest of us. Let's start a conversation. Let's inspire one another. Let's become educated activists. As always, I will see you in the next video, but until then, remember that your small actions truly do make a big difference in the long run. Bye, guys. Full of information on how to host. Yeah, I can share those in my regular